the Black House Fire Radio. And you begin to say, boy, and the Robinson Jamaican brother there, reaching out for massive on the African continent. And you need to. The show. Who your host?
Yes, good afternoon, family. Karibuni sana, and of course, have happy, blessed week to everyone listening to me by the radio station, and of course, right here on TikTok, on all our social media platforms. Karibuni, karibuni sana, and I'm wishing you guys nothing but a blessed, amazing, and a happy new week. 8 minutes past 1 p.m. right here in the 254, and I hope your weekend has been amazing. Mine has been fantastic. I can't complain, and of course, welcome to another beautiful session, another full of amazing discussion, politically, culture-wise, and of course, entertainment-wise, just right here on the Black Fire Network radio station. But on this show, we get political, and of course, today I'll be taking you through what has been happening throughout the weekend. A lot, of course, has been happening, and we shall be talking rather focusing on the West African part of the continent, and that is 3 countries: Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and of course, for taking an amazing actions we've seen since actually the coup. And this is the true democracy. Let me call it what it's supposed to be, the true democracy, since it was installed. That was in these 3 countries. It has been super amazing seeing them partnering together, and of course making massive, amazing movements. I've discussed a couple of things, and positive remarks about these 3 countries, and some of the positive changes they have been able to make for the countries of them which they're leading. And of course, today it is good to report, rather come out with the positive news at the end of the day, because I cannot promise you the whole show is gonna be amazing. There's always some chaos happening in the continent, but we try to bring the positive best that we can. We shall be talking about these three countries, the West African countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, where we can see that they have withdrawn from ECOWAS. And of course, we know this is something that we saw coming. We remember that was actually, I think, 3 weeks ago, if I can remember very vividly, because I don't lose track of my reports. I did report Burkina Faso withdrawing also from a certain Islamist group. I can't remember the name specifically, but this was a group and an organization that was formed in part of also fighting and helping the country fight the Islamist terrorism and jihadists. But none of this has happened. So Burkina Faso came forth and withdrew from this organization, which was positive because they gave a few points of how for decades these people have been here, but there's nothing that has changed, and which tells also a lot about of the African countries. We shall also be talking about DRC Congo, where we can see actually in some parts of Kinshasa, which is so sad to see right now after having another selected, not another, but the same selected puppet returning into power, nothing has changed. Where we can see Chinese people are the ones coming here and giving us hydroelectric power plants, and which is actually leading us to a lot of darkness, because it's crazy. We're talking about a country that produces a lot of coltan and which literally powers a lot of countries in the rest parts of the world. But the same country that produces this largest, biggest amount of coltans is the one in the dark. So we shall be talking about this and a lot more. So stick through. We shall also be taking you through what happened. That was during the weekend right here in Kenya. This was highly discussed today on the Vibe Show that is about the femicide. And big up to all our amazing fans right here on TikTok, always coming back and forth and contributing on this conversation and relating, because they really need to be dealt with. We shall be talking about the protest that Hewa held, and this is over the hand femicide right here in the 254. But I have a few points to give on that, because it's not just women being killed, men, children are being killed as well. So I think this is just a bigger, wide discussion more than just saying it's women, according to me, and much more. So Karibuni Sana, that is what we shall be dwelling on. And of course, I hope you guys feel free to also dive into the conversation of the day and let me know how you feel about today's conversation. Big up to Gracie in the building. Shout out to Isaac Ngige in the building. Shout out to Swat in the building. And of course, to everyone with me on TikTok and to the Facebook page, on YouTube, on the radio station, and also on Rumble, on Spreaker Live. I hope you guys are getting me loud and clear. Karibuni Sana once again. I go by the name Joby for those who are first-time listeners. And I hope you get to enjoy the show of today as I get back to the music. I started with an amazing banger, and of course, positive. Why? Because it's a winning week for me. Actually, I feel very blessed. It's been an amazing weekend. It just started with a lot of positivity, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the month, the year is all about. I'm just super excited. Shout out to Bobby. Thank you so much for tapping the screen. To also you, Gracie, Karibuni Sana. We shall be playing next. That is Jada King, and of course, like I said, that is what we are, because I really literally want to do with your life. Jada Kingdom coming in with win, and I hope you guys get to enjoy this. And of course, I'll be coming back with the quote of the day. So in case you have anything positive you'd love to share with us, feel free to also kindly do so. Shout out to Moniki. Big up to big up to Party in the building. Welcome to the Pan-African Bliss Show. Every time I feel can't be no different. Swear me up the wind. That's why I'm try again. Every time I feel it's God always I listen. One day I have to win. That's why I'm try again. Did I say 2024? No excuses. For me, if you're putting excuses, baby, I don't want you in my life. I don't want no excuses. You must win. You have no excuse of not going for what you want. Yes, me. Yes, my quote of the day is a quote of the week, and it says, "This week is your time to trust your intuition, notice the blessings around you, do whatever it takes to grow, document your progress, shine, and regardless of what others say." Shine regardless of what other people say. You have to win. And try again, even if you fail.
Cause God always only sin. Try again. Nowadays, me just want to balance my mental, I know. I stop telling myself, so I don't put it up. I know like say I just know like I rock.
Yes, and of course, welcome back to the Pan-African Bliss Show. It's not a musical show. We only do musical shows on the Vibe Show and on the Culture Show. Catch that every Monday to Friday, every morning from 8 a.m. to 12 midnight. No, 12 midday, sorry. And of course, also the Vibe Show. You can catch us till midnight. That is what we get to do right here. That is from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Rather even further the way we can go. But anyway, Karibuni Sana is the Pan-African Bliss, and listening to the Black Fire Network radio station media of the 21st century. We are an international online media radio station, and I hope you guys are doing amazing once again, and I hope your weekend has been fantastic. 15 minutes past 1 p.m. right in the 254, and a quick shout out once again to everyone with us on Facebook, on YouTube, on the radio station, and of course for those who are with us on Rumble and Spreaker, and right here on TikTok with me. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. In case you're wondering where is our YouTube channel, kindly go to the on the YouTube and search for Black Fire Network, and you'll find us there. In case you've been missing all the shows, that is the talk shows, political shows, you can catch all the replays over there, and you can also join officially on our website. That is under the www.blackfirenetwork.com. Apparently, right now our app is not back on the Google Play Store, but it shall be coming back very soon, and you shall be enjoying much more of the Black Fire Network service. We also have do merchandise, which you're given a chance to stand or rather win right here on the Vibe Show every morning, or rather some cash prize. It depends if you get the questions correctly. But nonetheless, Karibuni Sana. Like I said, today we shall be talking about Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, these three Western African countries, and of course, what is happening, the positive remarks that they are taking, and the changes for their people. But for now, I want to start with what is happening in the 254. I don't know, majority of you I think are listening, especially from TikTok, from Kenya, and you guys have been seeing during the weekend we had the demonstration, or rather protest held by women. We also had men who also did contribute in part of this. Shout out to all of them. I saw some few celebrities coming in. I saw a few men who are also supportive, many young women, and of course also mothers and aunties and grandmas, those who could literally get there and put in the energy on our behalf for those who are absent. We really, really appreciate. But yes, we had a demonstration held in the 254. And this is against the femicide issue that has been happening. But I want us guys to be very, very honest. If you look at the situation, and I'm not, me being a woman, I'm not saying that this, I don't feel like this is something that should be demonstrated about. Of course, I'm scared for my life. Trust me. I'm scared right now, even making friendships. I'm scared of even saying, hey, I want to date, especially being single the way I am. Okay? Like, I want to date. I want to meet someone new and try and make a connection. I'm really, really, really scared for me, because you don't know literally who you're inviting in your life, and you need to be conscious, before you get to trust someone. People have their own demons. But the realistic part of it, before I get to read the article, of course, the media has something to say, and people have something to say, and I have something to say. You have something to say. Don't you think this is a countrywide situation where we need our government taking serious actions when it comes to security being imposed on the nation? We had our country just recently. I don't know, as much as the facts are not facts, because we saw this is a scam going on, where we had the visa-free thing going on with the 254, where we see behind it, kuna venye watu wanalipa hii do after all. But if you look at the whole situation, when the president mentioned our country being a visa-free country, I feel like this actually brought in a lot of trigger. That is number one. Understanding that the African nations are not well protected. We do not even have security. As we speak right now, when you talk about these three other West African countries that I'm about to talk about as a major topic later, they're fighting the same thing right here. Some parts of Kenya, the northern parts of Kenya, we're fighting the same thing. So the moment you're saying this country is a visa-free country, whether you impose the matters of people paying the visas in an electrical way or whatever means, still you've given so many people the chances of coming in and out. But that's not the question. The question is, don't you think this is not a gender-based violence? It's not a femicide, it's not a malicide, it's not a whatever you want to call it. This is literally where we having people killing each other, and the country, due to corruption, due to the connections, which we call connections. What are connections? 1, 2, 3 things. They know and they can easily get away with it. Shout out to John Matara. I don't know how many of you have seen what John Matara just said today, just a few hours ago. He's scared of his life. He fears for his life. We're talking about a murderer saying he's scared and fears for his life. Someone who's not supposed even to be talking right now, executed, but he says, and has a lawyer, the nerve. Nashangadi ametoa wapi lawyer huyu mtu mwenye anakaa kama chokora. He has the nerve to say, I'm scared for my life. It is crazy. But before I read this personally, I feel like this is not a femicide issue. It is where just the country need to literally take serious actions and ensure that we have security imposed and taken very serious, where we have the police officers doing their work, all the watchmen, everyone doing their work. If you are literally employed under the security organization, you should be able to fulfill and ensure where you're serving, there shall not be any problem emerging. Men are being killed, women are being killed, children are being killed, and even to the point of being abducted. I don't know really, I think Africans will take things so lightly, where we have no clue of how our melanin color is worth gold. You see children disappearing, we think it's a norm. We see men disappearing, we think it's a norm. We see women disappearing, it's just a norm. It's not a norm. It's where the country and the presidents, they need to impose serious security matters right here in the country. And of course, as I get to read what is happening, of what the protests did, or how the protests did take place, they seen the protests in Kenya that was during the weekend, including Catherine Siokau, a woman with disability, rallied against femicide, emphasizing equal rights for women, particularly those more vulnerable due to their disability. Esther Passaris, a parliamentary representative for women, who she's literally doing nothing, zero work, and shout out to her for being a very dormant leader, a representative of women. She advocated for non-viable sexual gender-based offense charges, urging the creation of local standards. Eric Theory, president of the Law Society of Kenya, emphasizes the country's judgment based on how it protects and it protects the weak and vulnerable, highlighting the need for legal safeguarding for women. The protests sparked the recent murders over the dozens of women who are the largest anti-femicide demonstrations in Kenya, with protesters wearing T-shirts and bearing names of the victims. In Nairobi, traffic was heated as demonstrations demanded an end of violence against women, expressing hostility towards Passaris for her perceived inaction. And the president of the Law Society of Kenya asserted that the slow judicial process exacerbates gender-based violence, citing a shortage of judges and resources. My thoughts regarding this is not just a women thing. Again, I'm not going to say this is a femicide issue. I want you guys, if you are a mature person, look at it at a very big, wide angle. Africa, we've never been secure. We're always going to be fought. We're always going to fight ourselves, another thing, because that is also something that the white supremacy and how the system is made up is literally destroying the Africans' mentality. Because if you look at this case, because I think we discussed this on Tubonge, you have to go back. Me being a judge, because I was trying to analyze this as a judge. If you look at the John Matara's case, it's going to be so hard to literally judge, whereby you don't know what happened between these two people before the lady died. There's no camera, no CCTV to show the incident, who attacked who first. And I'm not defending the murderer, trust me. That is just my thought, number one. Secondly, this guy has a lawyer. He has a lawyer. So where did he get the lawyer? Where's the support of him getting a lawyer from just looking like a crooked type of coming from? So my thought and understanding this is that the lawyer knows what he's doing. This is a case that is very complicated, where justice shall not be brought forward, but it shall and may help if only the victims and evidences can come out from the victims who also testified to this guy's case and actions that they also faced before Starlet Wahu death. It is quite a complicated matter when you look at all these cases. So as much as we're talking about femicide, malicide, these are very big discussion, and it's men being killed, women being killed, children being killed. So we don't need just to demonstrate on femicide, but end gender-based violence. That is what I'd literally say as a whole. But I see Syndicate Stalker in the building. Shout out to you. Shout out to also Piera23 Forever Karibu Sana, and to everyone with me also right here on YouTube, the YouTube channel. Let me know what you guys feel about this, about the situation that has been emerging in Kenya about the femicide. Do you feel like it's a femicide issue, or do you feel like the country should just take more serious actions and ensure that we have security? As I walk as a man, as a woman, as a child, I should feel I'm walking in a very secure ground, and I don't have to be worried that someone is going to stab me in the back because I'm a woman, because I'm a man, because I'm a child. Let's not say this is a femicide issue. That is where I end that topic of what is happening in the 254. But as we move on, still in Kenya, I want to talk about what is also happening. We had the deployment of the police officers. Remember, that was a couple months ago. That was brought out, and of course, we had our president receiving some amounts of money which was pocketed. We had also our very high court also blocking this motion or this particular incident, and which was pending for quite some time. And I remember, I think towards the end of the year of 2023, I reported where Kenya had already said yes, like after them pocketing the money and all that happened, pocketing the money, seeing the US demanding this and this and this, the High Court still left the case pending. But it's crazy to see that, which I don't know, it's quite a confusing incident here. What is happening between not Haiti, because Haitians themselves are warning the 254 people, 254 police, not to go to that particular cases. Kindly, you have no idea what you're taking yourself to. We ourselves, we've been unable to handle the situation because it's a funded situation. But you are also funded to come and destroy us in the name of your coming to actually maintain peace. It's a lie. That is what is happening between Kenya and Haiti. And of course, the US government being the biggest funder, if there's such a term, funder of what is happening right in the top. Let me see if I can find a video of this guy, what they had to, this guy was warning, of course, the Kenya police officers to not allow them to be deployed in Haiti. They're taking themselves into death, and that they're not going to survive. That is a warning coming from the Haiti people. So if you are warned, I mean, are you still going to take yourself here? But let me share this very quickly as I get to read the article under what is happening in that particular matter. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I'm not sure if I'll find it, but if okay, there it goes. All right. Let me share this very quickly. Police officers who are about to be deployed to Haiti. This is what this guy had to say.
Today, I'm asking you, people of Kenya,
Exactly. And then question number one, I'd love to understand from our people. I don't know how many of us, I don't know how many people in the continent, if they know in Haiti, because I think of the name, it doesn't really sound so African. Pardon my French. It doesn't really sound so African. Haiti. It sounds like an Asian type of name. But I don't know how many people in the continent know that in Haiti we have black people like us. And this is why you see this man starting by the fact, which is a fact. Our people from Kenya, my Kenyan brothers and sisters, we are urging you, stop your government from deploying police officers to come here in the name of maintaining peace, because there's no maintenance of peace. We need to understand what our leaders are doing with these international countries, the European countries. Once you see the IMF, the World Bank, the US, France, Belgium, all these countries involved in any African matters, it doesn't mean helping us, and especially funds coming out. Because if you want to help Haiti from the word go, I always love asking a perfect example. What has the East African community done, not only in helping Haiti, but just the neighbor we have, DRC Congo? Nothing. That is number one. Nothing. But I love the way he starts his speech. My dear brothers from Kenya, my fellow Africans, we are urging you, not this borderism bullshit we keep on hearing, or because Haiti is somewhere, I don't know, or we should not be caring. I mean, how does that involve us? It does involve you, because today it's them. The next minute, once your leader says no to something, it's us. Today is Uganda. If you don't help Uganda, tomorrow it's you. We need to understand the unity and the power it comes with. And this is how we can stop this system from making the decisions they make. But we're too little, very less, who understand this kind of information I'm talking about.
If your people, your policemen or your military come here in Haiti, they won't be welcome.
He's talking like
We
a
don't want them
Jamaican.
here.
We're not their brothers, not oppressors. We're taking you like brothers, but you still want to accept what your government is telling you by funding you and coming to destroy us. You're not going to love it. You've been warned. You've been warned.
Not like operations. If they come now to support the government that has to keep us in the situation we are, they're not coming here to help us. They're coming here to help the status quo. They're coming here to help imperialism. They're coming here because they don't want us to be a free nation. So now, please, people of Kenya, don't let your government, don't let your Congress do that. And you congressmen in Kenya, please, we don't want you to come here like that. We don't want to hate you. You are brothers. But if you come like enemies, shame on you if you do that.
And that is such a shame to hear our fellow. Actually, it is really coming at a very painful. I don't know if you feel the weight from that brother's heart is really, really heavy. He's really speaking from his heart. Like, that is so heavy. Stop your government from what they are doing. Don't accept these funds. Don't support imperialism, because that's what the US has been doing. And now, because they have failed to continue doing much more damage, because people are realizing what they are behind and all they are behind in the African continent, now they're using the other African countries to clean up their mess. And then what situation are we left in? I want you to look at this. What situation are we left in after that? Okay, fine. We have the deployment of the police officers. Funds have been pocketed by our very dear own president. But you've been warned by the people of Haiti themselves, not even the gangs. Even the gangs. You're going to meet the gangs person to person. But the people already, the citizens are urging you, stop, don't do this. But you go there. Whether you're going to come back dead or alive, you have a history to tell. There should be someone who should survive to tell this history. This is going to leave us in a very messed up situation, let me tell you. When you talk about the divide and conquer mission, this is how the white supremacy is using it. And it is so sad due to miseducation, especially to us as Africans, the majority who have power, who've selected these people to work for us, are doing completely the opposite. And we failed to understand what is happening, which I get because of the miseducation, but we have failed so hard to just even connect the few dots we can. We have failed if you're supporting Kenyans being deployed, police officers from Kenya being deployed to Haiti. We have failed completely. I'm just asking, what angle does that leave you at? You as a Kenyan, you as an Haitian. No, this is actually you as a Kenyan. Both of you being African people. And then understanding the divide and conquer mission. What situation are we left in? A very messed up situation. We're not gonna ever know peace between these Haiti. I don't believe Haitians can come to Kenya because they won't trust us anymore. We can't go there because our police officers will be killed despite being warned, and we're gonna blame Haiti. Not understanding that the US is behind all this. Africans, wake up. Kindly, wake up. We need to be so many of us to be able to help our brothers and sisters. We need to be so many of us to form unity. We need to be so many of us because power is us. Not these leaders just because they have guns, bulletproof cars. They ain't leaders. You having all types of different bank accounts and mansions in different islands out of Africa does not make you a good leader. Your actions do. Your actions do. This is so crazy. But the mainstream media says there is uncertainty of the deployment of the police officers. Of course, the Kenyan court did block this with immediate effect. They're saying that since the Kenyan High Court ruling last Friday, blocking the deployment of the UN-backed police force to assist in combating gangs in Haiti, a sense of uncertainty has gripped the troubled Caribbean nation. The judges, national behind the decision is based on the argument that the deployment would be deemed illegal due to the National Security Council lacking the legal authority to dispatch police forces beyond Kenya's borders. According to the latest UN statistics, the reported number of killings in Haiti more than doubled. It's doubled to nearly 4,500 last year, which reported kidnapping surging increased 80%, over 80% to almost 2,500 cases. I'm not getting that clearly, but of course, I think they're trying to say that the numbers did increase. And according to a recent release by the UN report reveals that Haiti National Police Forces is facing a crisis with officers leaving at an alarming rate, while those remaining in service grappling with the overwhelming presence of gangs. Over 1,600 officers departed the department last year, and an additional 48 were reported killed. Despite the deterioration situation, skepticism persists among many Haitians regarding the emphasis of UN intervention and the deployment of foreign troops to address the nation's gang-related issues. Kenya President William Ruto has expressed the intention to appeal the court's ruling, but the duration of this process remains uncertain. It is also unclear whether countries that had pledged to send smaller forces to support this mutilation, whatever you want to call it, mission would consider proceeding independently. That is what is happening. And of course, I'm glad to see that I love what the High Court is doing, and this is why we can see actually Kenya. It makes sense now. This connects us back to why we have President William Ruto calling judges corrupt, because they're trying to block this kind of motions. We saw 2-3 weeks ago Ruto coming out and saying the Kenyan judges are becoming too corrupt. And why? Because this is one we can see. They're trying to stop the deployment of the police officers, which is very dangerous. We need to understand this is not an Haiti situation. These are UN-backed situation. We don't have the funds to go fight there. So where do we get? We don't even have the weapons as Kenya. Tunapata hapi hizi weapons. Are we going to be funded proper weapons to go help the people of Haiti, or are we just going to cause destruction? But I'm glad to see what the country, our country judges are doing, what the High Court is doing, they have been literally stopping a lot of brought up decisions made by the president, which are affecting the country and the people. And I'm glad to see this happening. And of course, this also goes to the police officers, because you being deployed to another country does not make your salary go higher, babe. I'm so sorry. You barely. What makes you? Why should they promise you that you're gonna get a salary increase after you're dead? Because that's what they're trying to convince you. Why can't you get a salary increment and still continue serving your country, and better even the security in your country, whereby we're talking about this issue of femicide, men being killed, children being killed, being eased? Why do you need to be deployed to Haiti to protect your other people while your own country is in crisis? Make that make sense to me. We're having men being killed left, right, and center, doctors, teachers, children being abducted. And then you want to talk about the deployment of police officers in Haiti. Kenyan leaders, be serious. Be very serious. Be very, very serious. And also to you, the people, you need to realize what is happening. Tumekaa tu nde, tunasoma tu news. So uko tu hapo unaniangalia, maybe like these are channel some news and the political, that is what feeds you. Let me tell you, we need to stop being ignorant. We need to understand how politics literally affect our lives. We think it's a joke until you see these taxes being imposed left, right, and center, affecting even your salary. I pity you if you literally working under the government or working in a position where salary yako lazima ipite sijui kwa wapi KRA. I pity you. And you don't have a voice to talk about this. We've seen all this happening and you think it's just news. It's not just news, my friends. We need to call out these leaders for not doing what they are supposed to do. Focusing on things they're not supposed to be focusing. We're talking about now the housing levy. Unaona venye watu wanabomolewa manyumba. And apart from that, watu wanakatwa kwa salary. And we're quiet. We're quiet. I don't care what anyone says, but you are the power. We are the power. You see, all of you passing by on TikTok, we are the power. We need each other. We need unity. You're not stop stories as I'm Luo, I'm Kikuyu, I'm Kalenjin, my president is Kalenjin. Because of those bullshit. Those people are always right here on TikTok and saying that nonsense. Oh, for once now God has chosen a Kalenjin president. How is you being tribalistic helping you economically? That is the number one question. Are you buying ugali flour the same price I'm buying? Yes. Are you buying mafuta the same price I'm buying? Yes. Are you buying sukuma wiki ikipanda every time the same price I'm buying? Yes. I need you. You need me. We need each other. We need to call out this system. Because I don't know where we're heading. Africa, I don't know where we're heading. We have pathetic leaders. Pathetic leaders. And shout out to everyone who booed on Esther Passaris. I literally support that very high. Because umekuwa wapi kama woman rep? Umekuwa wapi? These people is coming at just every time there's problems, and when people have decided to take actions into their hands is when they, oh, you know, I'm a leader, I was a men representative, I stand for this chair. Where have you been all this while? Where have you been? We need to call out African leaders. We need to understand the continent is ruled the same way. And like I'm saying right now, if you understand what is happening in Haiti, the deployment of the police officers of Kenya to Haiti, this is gonna lead us in years to come. We might not literally be able to understand the repercussions of it later, right? Maybe right now, but later. Because Africans were just divided by borders, which do not even exist. It's just a made-up shit. But we're all the same people. We're all the same people. We all rule the same way. Same system set up worldwide. Like it or not. Like like it or not. But a quick shout out to everyone with me on TikTok. Karibuni sana, kindly tap the screen and of course, let me know what you guys feel about today's discussion. Shout out to Katali. Thank you so much for following the host. Shout out to Graphics Photography Kenya. Asi, shout out to Maswa Douglas. Shout out to Ma Pandamata, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to Aaron as well. And I see Katali is saying, Nani amekasirisha madam. Sijakasirika. I'm talking political matters. We're talking about the deployment of officers from Kenya to Haiti. And I'm asking for you guys, audience right here on TikTok, do you understand what is happening right here? We're taking these police officers to a lion of den. Out on in the kuliwa huko. In Haiti, these gangs are not just gangs like the world are scared to do. Ooh, maybe a symbol. We're not talking about that. We're talking about funded gangs with weapons. This is not just the situation in Haiti didn't just start today or last year because we saw now Kenya taking actions and other countries want to support. This is something that began long time ago. And it's been happening. It's been happening. But it's crazy to see African countries have to be used to go clean the mess of the US. Because you look dumb. We look very dumb. And this tells how dumb of presidents we have as well. It is so sad and so super. I'm moving on before I get to the major focus of the day. Like I said, I'll be talking also about DRC Congo. But for now, I want to talk about the same puppets who are supposed to be going to Italy. They're supposed to go, African presidents are supposed to arrive in Rome for Italy's summit. There's an Italy summit, and this is a summit that is supposed to actually, they're supposed to be having a discussion on how they can boost relationships between Africa and the European nations. When you talk about the relationship boosting relationships between Africa and European nations, I always question very high, because if I look at the European nations, when you talk about corporations especially, because they love using that word, Africa has never been favored, never benefited in any of these boosted relationships, any cooperation, whether you are in AGOA, whether you are in the AU, whether you are in the UN, whether you are in the EU, wherever organization African countries are that are not formed by African countries, they do not benefit us. Thank you so much for following the host Graphics Kenya. They do not benefit us. So let's read this. Let's see what the African countries are going to do in Italy. Several African leaders are in Italy, the capital of Rome, and this is for the Italy-Africa Summit, which is aimed at boosting relationships between Africa and the European nations. Now, another question. How many of us have seen, apart from which is not also backed by us, apart from the Africa Climate Summit, which only happened in Africa, but it was not us who came up with this summit. We need to get the difference, okay? This is not something that any African leaders or the board of African leaders sat down and said, we have a matter of climate change now. As Africans, we've understood climate for so long. No, it's white people telling us how to do and how to operate, how to and how to go about it. This is a Italy-Africa Summit, which is aimed at boosting relationships between Africa and the European nations. Since when have we seen the European nations, all of them, coming to Africa? And I'm not just talking about Kenya, Uganda, DRC Congo, wakuja waongelele shida zao huku for us to help them. It is always us as Africans we need help. Why? Why can't we boost our own relationships by first withdrawing the borders, number one? That is how Africa can actually boost its relationship, not with any other European countries, but with itself. Africa with itself. I'm talking Africa. I'm talking Kenya with Tanzania, Uganda with Congo, Congo with Rwanda, Rwanda with Burundi, Malawi with Zimbabwe, Zambia, and all that. That is what I'm talking about. That is the kind of Africa, that is our relationships are going to be boosted. By one, trading amongst each other, which makes things very cheap. You don't need a Goa anymore, which only gives you a free trading deal. But how do you benefit? That's the number one question again. You get? This is very deep. Trust me, politics is really amazing. Politics is so sweet. Trust me, than I ever thought. I ever thought. Politics is so sweet. Like, when you just get to break everything down and get the fact that you get to understand everything, that's just something else as well. Thank you, Eunice. Thank you so much for tapping the screen. And of course, Karibu Sana, I'm glad you are joining. It's crazy. But let's read this again. Several African leaders are in Italy, the capital of Rome, for Italy Africa Summit, which is aimed at boosting relationships between Africa and the European nations. During the two-day summit, Italy is expected to launch a new approach for cooperating, the term again, with African countries, which is not predatory, not paternalistic, but not charitable either. That is the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni who gave this information. And then, mind you, Giorgia Meloni, she's the one who actually, that was again 2 weeks ago, I reported that, where Giorgia Meloni is saying that African countries do not need aid. They do not need charity. Thank you so much for the gifts. She said African countries do not need aid. We don't need charity. What we need is a good cooperation that favors us equally, which is very true, because for so long, the European countries have been the ones benefiting the most than how Africa has. Is that a good remark? Of course it is. Have we seen Giorgia Meloni standing up for Africa for so long? Actually, for so long, I've seen so many positive remarks she's made, especially when we saw France, when she exposed France of how they have been using people and exploiting people in the name of taking resources and all that. So it is good to say that this is led by her, but how sure are we and which African countries and leaders are in this meeting? Because we need to check the situation of these countries, how they are, number one, and how they have improved. Are they doing amazing since they have had the cooperation whole thing from the beginning? Or are they just literally, is the economy depreciating or increasing? They say that the target areas of collaboration include energy, which we see majority of us are in the darkness. Let's start by there. Economy, which is again going down, like I said. And infrastructure development, which majority of them are under debts. Let's talk about that. Majority of our infrastructure development are under debts. Let's talk about how Kenya in 2 days, about, 100 and something billion. This money, we never see where it applies, how it improves the Kenyans' lives. Same old situation, same old situations. So they're talking about energy. The collaboration includes energy, economy, infrastructure development, culture. Our culture, they have destroyed our culture, family. They have destroyed our culture. If you talk about culture, let's start by them returning our stolen artifacts, which I was talking about the other time, and let them stop loaning Ghana what they stole. How do you loan me my own stuff that you stole from me? Do you know how delusional you sound and crazy? You sound crazy, SF. You sound delusional, SF. You know? You want to loan me back what you stole from me. So if you talk about culture and if you want us to collaborate, Giorgia Meloni from Italy, babes, we need, because I was reading the other time, I wish I can pull up that article again. But every European country that participated in the colonization of African people and the countries has big amounts of stolen artifacts, starting from France, Britain, all of them. But they made it permanent that these artifacts shall never be returned to their origin. Make that make sense again. Food and security, which they have now taken control of. That is another collaboration they're talking about. Food and security. It's just on Friday, last Friday, I was talking about where we saw Ugandans last year. No, 2022, sorry. We had 2,200 Ugandans who died out of hunger. And the number goes on. But we had the prime minister of the country calling Ugandans idiots, which quite makes sense at some point, but not cool type of a word, because you have the farm, you have everything you need instead of waiting for a white man to bring you genetically modified food and fertilizer to destroy your soil. Another thing I said, it is also hard for majority of these people to contribute in farming or for us to be able to secure our food because we're still fighting for lands that were taken from our ancestors long time ago. We're talking about generational wealth that was stolen from us that we should be continuing with and we should be practicing as we involve culture in it. But we no longer have that. So on that area of food security and lands, I'm always very heavy and conscious of what I'm talking about. Education is another collaboration. Let me tell you, I'm enjoying this. This is a flex for me. Education is another collaboration. It's quite amazing to see it. Miss Education has been the #1 key they brought in Africa. So it's crazy when they say they want to collaborate with us in terms of boosting our education. One, we've seen so many children. Let me start with the northern parts of Kenya. Samburu, Marsabit, whatever you want to call it. Huko kwote. Kwenye kuna watu na ukame. And we have leaders, mind you, from those places, but they don't live even in those regions. They come dwell in places which are very fertile. The environment is very favorable. Of course, there's plenty of water and electricity. But the rest of the people who are left there in those regions, no lights. They don't even know what electricity is. They don't even know no clean water unless they wait for rain. Or maybe dig a well. These people don't even know no hospitals. I bet even they can't even rely on natural herbs because the area is dry, super dry. It's not enough. We've seen so many times the media back and forth, BBC, CNN, Citizen, KTN, NTV, Citizen, all of them, always going there, documenting what is happening. But how have they improved the situation of the people? Never. It's always about promoting poverty porn of Africa. And this is how we see people like, France, Italy, Britain, all of them coming to Africa and, of course, seeking a collaboration to boost Africa's situations. So when you talk about miseducation, this has been on purpose for the longest time. If it's changing, when we have people like Patrice Lumumba who are advocating for this kind of thing, shout out to also Robert Mugabe, who we have 92% in his country. This I think is the highest. This is the country with the highest level of literacy, Zimbabwe, because it had really advanced education. It was teaching, really had amazing schools. But right now, if you look at today's Zimbabwe, it's quite different from what Mugabe left. Because you have the white people back there, if I'm not wrong, and so much. So education is something they should have changed long time ago. This is just bullshit. And the last but not least, they're talking about vocational training. Oh, yeah. It's crazy to see they're talking about vocational training. While I remember there's a time I reported of in South Africa, a quite percentage of number of students, or I think a group, a certain age, cannot even read and write. There's a lot to be changed in the continent, but you do not know boosting. You do not need no boosting from European nations. Nowhere for you to help yourself as African people. We have everything we need. But they're saying that the summit, which started yesterday, is also aimed at boosting investments in Africa countries as strategy to curb irregular migration from the continent. Several other African countries have organized similar summits to strengthen the ties with us. Not other countries, African countries, but several other countries have organized summits to strengthen ties with African countries, including Germany, Russia, and China. I'd advocate for Russia because so far so good. We've been seeing, this is where I'm heading, we've been seeing them helping the 3 Western African countries, which is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, in so many different ways. But China, what they have done in some places like Kinshasa, where we have so many residents, especially those who are residing outside the downtown area, they are always in the dark. So how do you expect us to rely on China to boost our energy, our economy, our education, our food insecurity, while they're doing literally the worst, to ensure we're going to always keep on relying on them back and forth? I mean, you want to tell me African people and African leaders, I don't know. I don't know, it's because I'm too informed, but I wish I was given, I wish I can check a timeline. If I didn't have all this knowledge, and then growing up, let's say from the year of 2021, let me say 2020, when I tapped into a lot of awakening for me to get here. I'd really love to see me without all this information and see if I can connect the dots to understand my African people and why they don't understand things. I don't know if you guys are getting me, if it makes sense. I'd love to see me, if I didn't have all this information I have right now, and then bumping into such kind of news, trying to see if I'm relating and understanding what is happening, or am I the majority of the African people? I'd really love to tap that. If there was a possibility to be shown, if things didn't go this way, this is how it should be, I'd really love to. It's super, super crazy. But of course, before we get into the main focus of the day, that is what is happening in Italy. And shout out to all the African leaders who are there. I'm not sure who are they. They have not given us names of which African leaders from which African countries have attended this Italy-Africa summit, which is aimed at boosting relationships, like I said, including relationships like energy, economy, infrastructure and development, which is very poor culture, food security, education, and vocational training. That is what they're focusing on. I'd love to know, and of course, I'll keep you updated during the week to see which African leaders attended the summit and what is their conclusion about this. Because someone like Tinubu, someone like Museveni, they always have something to say. Someone like Nana Akufo-Addo always have something to say. So shout out to them. I'll be keeping you guys updated. And that is what is happening for now, coming from the African continent, parts of Italy and whatever collaboration. As we move on, and of course, as we get closer to winding up, like I said, I'll talk about DRC Congo and what China is doing, which is part of the countries who are also looking to boosting the relationships of Africa. There is a transformative, they're saying in a formative effort to address the persistent issue of insufficient electricity in Kinshasa, the capital of Democratic Republic of Congo. Chinese companies, particularly called, I can't pronounce the name, particularly Sinohydro, have played pivotal role in constructing the Zogo 2 hydroelectric power plant. With an impressive installed capacity of 150 megawatts, the audacity, that is what pissed me off. Just 150, an impressive, can you imagine them calling with an impressive installed capacity of 150 in a country that, what? And then I checked China. I checked in China, what is the power grid capacity in China? As of 2022, thermal power plants, most of which are coal-fired, had a combined capacity of 1,332 gigawatts. If I'm pronouncing gigawatts or gigawatts, gigawatts, however you want to call it, that is the amount they have, gigawatts. This was more than half of the total power generating capacity, half, which sorted roughly to be 2.56 terawatts. By comparison, hydropower facilities were the largest renewable energy source by operational capacity. This is quite a shame. Shout out to you, Frida. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing amazing today. This is crazy. They have that the amount or greed, greed capacity, whatever. But what Kinshasa just gets is 150, and I think this is impressive. You know how disrespectful this is coming from the richest continent in the world, and that is still the resources to literally power the rest of their countries. This is so disrespectful. 150. I'm only shocked still by Egypt. That is quite a very big capacity of power distribution. That was a lot. If you guys can remember, I gave you the number. With an impressive installed capacity of 150 megawatts, the power station is set to provide a quarter of Kinshasa electricity. A quarter. Just a quarter. Why not the whole city? Why not power the whole place? Significantly brightening the night sky of the city. I tell you, the media is really impressive. For many residents in Kinshasa, especially those residing outside the downtown area, night was synonymous with darkness until the recent efforts of Chinese power engineers and electricians. The completion of 220 high voltage transmission line has enabled the vacance of energy from Zongo 2 to the substation of Kinsuka, integrating into the national grid. This is quite a shame, actually, to even report. This is just super, super sad. If you look at the situation in Congo in terms of exploitation of resources is worse, then it comes even much more worse, where you're the ones being used to exploit these resources, which people are making mega billions out of them, but your country is in a very poor state. I bet people like Skady barely goes and runs out of power in his White House, but the residents, the city, is in the darkness majority of the times, and who are literally here to help us boost our infrastructure development. The Chinese, who are very greedy, very racist, and a puppet country being used by the United States to get into Africa. So you go figure out. You go figure out. And this is what I'm saying again, Africans, because we saw in Kenya, among the state-owned companies that were sold is our Kenya Power. So we're heading there. And then, mind you, we had coltan discovered in 6 counties. So, yeah. And then you're going to be going out of power, and you have coltan. Yeah, it's crazy. But that is what is happening. You guys, let me be catching this show on a replay. What you feel about this conversation. For those who are with me on TikTok, again, remember, you can catch the shows on a replay under the Black Fire Network YouTube channel. And also, if you know about Rumble, BitChute, we are there with uncensored, unfiltered, and where YouTube shall not literally be able to rig or literally destroy our content to say this is too much and this is this and this and this. But of course, the major focus of the day, as we talk about the West African countries, like I promised, we are seeing that the military juntas in the West African nations, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, jointly announced their immediate withdrawal from the Ecowas community of West African states. That was yesterday. And the juntas accused the regional economic bloc of imposing inhumane sanctions aimed at reversing recent coups in the respective countries, which is very true. None of that said is a lie by the juntas. The joint statements broadcasted on state television in all 3 nations. That is amazing to report as well. State-owned broadcast. We're controlling our information. We don't need no France TV telling us, France 24 telling us what to do, BBC telling us or giving this sort of information about us. I love that. When you're addressing the nation and your people, because you mean true democracy, you mean letting go of control from your oppressor. It starts with the controlling of information, because we've seen for so long the Western medias have highly promoted violence in every report they give. It doesn't come in peace. It comes with a certain tone. Even when if you know, to understand, like if you read, if you are a reader, if you are a reader and you can understand tones in a sentence or a tone in a speech, it comes with a lot of disrespect from these control mainstream medias. But it's nice to see that at least these three countries have their own state-owned media. Amazing. But they say, the joint statement broadcasted on the state television in all three nations asserted that the decision to withdraw was made in complete sovereignty and alleging that Ecowas had deviated from the ideals of its founding fathers and pan-Africanism after nearly 50 years of existence. I mean, it is all true. The juntas contended that Ecowas are influenced by foreign powers and had become a threat to its member states and their population. Ecowas was established in 1975 to promote economic integrations in member states. Is considered West Africa's top political and regional authority. The bloc has faced challenges in recent years as it strives to address coup incidents in the region and ensures the equitable distribution of natural resources. And the juntas did not provide details on how the withdrawal of the process from Ecowas would unfold, and neither has Ecowas for the first time been. And the regional bloc, which recognizes only democratic governments, of course, democratic governments indeed, based has faced the regional bloc, which recognizes only democratic governments, has faced previous challenges to its authority, which is regional courts ruling last year that juntas lack the power to act on behalf of the nation in place of elected governments. Go on Mali, go on Burkina Faso, go on Niger. And this is why you see these other puppets are so highly voting and in promotion of the withdrawal or these juntas to withdraw from the seats. That is what I can say from there. Because they know they are selected coons who are not doing anything for the countries. And this is why you see them. Let me tell you, before I get to wind up, I am literally out of time. But we're coming to the end. Joe Mosquito, good morning to you too. Shout out to you, Keith, as well in the building. I see you. Karibu Sana. Hope you're doing amazing today. And Joe Mosquito, hope you had a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Karibu Sana. Nice to see you. This is what we see. We're having the Italy-Africa summit. And like I said, we don't know how many leaders from which African countries are attending. I'd love to know that before the rest of the week. So I hope this control mainstream media gives us that, because they will eventually. That's how you get to know the details. But we've not seen Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger attend of any of these meetings that were held, especially last year. We've not seen them attending. All of the rest of the African countries could, but only 3 countries didn't. If you follow up this Italy-Africa summit, you'll find it's literally a very big percentage of the African coons who attended this meeting, but Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger won't. Why? Why? Who are truly the democratic, which is truly a democratic government here? The one that just follows what the foreign powers tells them, or the one that gets to make a decision as an independent country on its own? That is where you go figure. Okay? And that's how I wind up my show of the day. We have the Africa-Italy summit, which we don't know how many leaders are attending, but trust me, you won't see Mali, Burkina Faso, and even in any summit. Because one, these are democratic governments who do not follow any instructions anymore from foreign powers. So the rest who are not democratic governments and claim to be democratic governments are the ones we see them attending these kind of meetings. And at the end of the day, it's disrespect. Disrespect. Nobody's listening to you as you talk. It's such a shame as it's just crazy. It's crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. To me, it sounds crazy. Trust me, sometimes I present news and instead of taking them serious, I end up laughing because it's funny, especially when you hear what these puppets are doing. It is fun. Politics is just interesting. And that's how I just wind it up there. But anyway, for me, look at me towards the end of the show, and I'm proud of what Mali and Burkina Faso have done. I'm glad that they are withdrawing from all these fake organizations that have not been serving the nations. I'm glad that they are doing what is best for the interest of the people, which is first, number one, consideration if you are a leader. The interest of the people. That is what we can see them doing. Ensuring that Burkina Faso, the Malians, Burkinabes, the Nigerians are comfortable on who has taken over the country. And they're trying their level best to show these people, for so long you've been misled, you've been miseducated. You've been literally lied to that you don't have 1, 2, 3 things. And this is why you can see them continuously trying to do this, because as much as I love Giorgia Meloni supporting Africa and seeing what is best for Africa, I do not support all this nonsense they're coming to talk about right here, because you know what? This nonsense should have been changed from a long time ago. They should have backed when we had Patrice Lumumba and Robert Mugabe, people like Idi Amin, whether he was a bad or a good person, when they were trying to change this kind of things. Oh, Magufuli as well. Coming to tell us about energy, economy, infrastructure, development, culture, food, security, education. It's all nonsense. And that's how I'll wind it up. Africans, like I said, we need each other. You do not need no European nations. You do not need no foreign powers to dictate and give you a go-ahead on what is good for you. But much love, family, once again. Thank you so much for being with me on today's conversation. I'm coming towards the end. And I bet my video that is in terms of keep John Mosquito. Shout out to you, Rose Cam in the building, and to everyone who has been with me right here on TikTok. I appreciate for 1,000 likes, and to everyone who has also been right here on YouTube. Those who are joining very late, I see y'all, and those who are also with me on Facebook. Those who have been with me on the radio station, on the show page. I hope you have enjoyed. If not, kindly just catch the show on a replay and leave a comment down below in case you have anything to say about all those conversations and debates we've had. Much love. See you guys later tonight on the Africa Today show. Have an amazing, wonderful rest of your day, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever the time is on your end. Have an amazing one. Jada Kingdom coming in with win. Like I said, this week is all about winning. And 2024, we're not taking no excuses, baby. No.
Get bread, my time of fear, you don't know. That's why when we are here, every time I feel, cause God always listen. One day I have to win. That's why I'm trying again.